Basically, an SI is an additional resource for students to get help. And so, in short, the SI attends every lecture. They see what's being covered, they see the depth of coverage, and that way they can adjust their lessons appropriately.
My responsibility as a supplemental instruction leader is to hold 2 to 3 one-hour sessions per week where the students and I can work through practice problems together, covering some of the more challenging topics from the course. In addition to that, I also hold office hours so that they can come to me with any topics they choose from their lectures.
Honestly, this is something we struggle with. It can be challenging to get students to attend SI sessions. And so, for example, I would offer extra credit. I advertise heavily during lecture. I remind them of opportunities.
For a new SI, I know when I was first starting out, there was more constant meetings, like meeting at least once a week for half an hour to discuss any topics that need to be covered in the sessions and what the sessions specifically should focus on and things of that nature. And as I continued, like after 2 or 3 semesters, the meetings weren't as necessary anymore because he trusted that I knew what I was doing and that I was familiar with the material, and I was able to just check in more on an as needed basis.
I believe those weekly meetings are incredibly important to help kind of orient the SI, point out difficult things that the students usually struggle with. Also, as they become more experienced, like you said, you become less hands-on. There's less intervention from a faculty member side. For a more experienced SI, there is less hands-on. It becomes less intervention on the faculty member side. The day-to-day gets handled, and you don't really have to worry about it. So as time progresses, and I've been working with Tiffany for 6 semesters now, we've gone from more of a teaching, directing role more into a advising role. But I think it's important, no matter if it's a new SI or an experienced SI, those weekly meetings are important just to make sure everybody's touching base. And that way you know what the plan is. It also gives the faculty member time to provide the SI with feedback, just in case something might be wrong or something could be offered to help the students in the long run.
So just like any other relationship, constant communication and mutual respect is very important because, after all, we're on the same team. So
my biggest goal is letting the students see Tiffany. And so I advertise heavily in lecture. I have slides that they can show all of her time, some of the questions or topics she might be working on. When she's in the classroom, I make sure that they notice she's there. So for example, if I'm doing a problem and I give the students 3 or 4 minutes to try the problem, I tell them, okay, you're gonna take 3 or 4 minutes now. Tiffany and I will be walking around, so if you have a question, stop one of us. Also, I like it just to kind of tease her a little bit, just to let the students know she's a friendly person. And so if there's a question that I don't think, for example, a freshman student might know, but an upper level student should know, I'll call out Tiffany and see if she can answer the question. And it shows that we get along well, but she also knows what she's talking about. And I think those things reinforce the idea that she's a good benefit and they should be taking advantage of that.
I think by incorporating me in the classroom and promoting me in the classroom in that way, it does 2 things. First, it reminds the students that I exist and that I am available for them to come for help. And number 2, it also shows that he trusts me. And if he can trust me, then they know they can trust me too, and they'll be more likely to seek out my help. From a professor, an SI is going to need that time set aside every week to get the feedback on the session materials that we're putting together. We also need a clear communication of your expectations for us, both inside and outside of the classroom. And I think most importantly is doing that promotion during the class time, mentioning SI, reminding about session times. Those kinds of things will continue to encourage the students to come for help. One thing I would like to tell a professor who is new to the SI program is that the promotion in the classroom is super critical for getting students to come to both our sessions and our office hours.
I think from a faculty member's standpoint, it's going to be remembering you need to put that time in, right? Because if you invest the time, it's going to pay off later on, not only for the students in your class now, but also the ones in the future, because as the SI becomes more proficient, it becomes easier and better. So for example, when I chose Tiffany, I had her in class. I knew she was a great student, but her first time in front of the classroom, I could tell she was a little nervous, and that's got better with time because she's worked on it very hard. But don't forget that they are students and they are still learning. And then also make sure that the SI is comfortable with the technology in the classroom. there are certain things that we do very easily, such as plugging in your computer and turning on the projector, that they might not have seen before. So those little things can help them get over the stage fright the first time they go in front of the classroom. And I think that would be important just to get them started on the right foot.